They twist your words, misunderstand your intentions, and no matter how much you explain yourself, it only makes things worse. Have you ever felt like you're talking to someone who just refuses to see the truth? Like no matter how clearly you speak, they always find a way to distort your meaning and turn it against you? That's not just stubbornness, it's spiritual warfare. Not every battle is yours to fight, and not every person deserves an explanation. Some people aren't rejecting you, they're rejecting the light inside you. They are vessels of something far darker, spirits that feed on confusion, conflict, and deception. And when you engage with them, you're not just arguing with a person, you're wrestling with the forces behind them. Jesus warned us about this in Matthew 7:6. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Why? Because they'll trample your wisdom and then turn to attack you. Yet so many chosen ones waste their energy explaining themselves to people who were never meant to understand. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Jesus himself remained silent before Pilate because some conversations are traps. Some explanations are weapons the enemy will use against you. In this video, you'll discover why silence is your greatest defense, how to discern when to speak and when to be quiet, and how to stop giving your pearls to those who only seek to destroy them. Stay tuned, because this message will change the way you move in a world full of hidden battles. Silence is a language of strength. In a world obsessed with noise, constant explanations, and endless justifications, silence stands as a rare and powerful force. True strength isn't always found in words. It's often in the restraint of them. Those who understand the power of silence know that it is not passivity, but control. It's the ability to remain unfazed when provoked, to walk away when words will only be twisted, and to conserve energy for battles that truly matter. Jesus demonstrated this strength when he stood before Pilate, accused and condemned, yet he did not defend himself. Matthew 27:14. Why? Because real authority doesn't argue, it simply stands firm. When you know who you are, when you trust in divine justice, you don't waste time proving yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. Silence is also a weapon in spiritual warfare. The enemy thrives on reaction, feeding on emotional outbursts and unnecessary explanations, but when you choose silence, you rob him of the ammunition he seeks. Instead of fighting battles that drain you, you shift your focus to the real battlefield: prayer, wisdom, and divine strategy. Beyond defense, silence is a language of discernment. It allows you to observe, to listen, and to understand what words often conceal. People reveal themselves in their actions, and those who talk too much often expose their own weaknesses. When you embrace silence, you gain control over your emotions, protect your peace, and command respect without saying a word. Not every question requires an answer, not every battle requires your voice. Strength is knowing when to speak and when to let silence speak for you. Because sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is simply refusing to engage. Not every battle is yours to fight, and understanding this truth will save you time, energy, and peace. Life constantly presents conflicts, people who misunderstand you, situations that seem unfair, and circumstances that tempt you to defend yourself. But before you step into every battle, ask yourself, is this my fight or is it a distraction? One of the enemy's greatest strategies is to bait you into unnecessary warfare. If he can't destroy you, he'll drain you. He'll send people to provoke you, twist your words, and stir up emotions that pull you away from your real purpose. The goal isn't to defeat you directly. It's to exhaust you so that when the real battle comes, you have nothing left to give. Jesus understood this well. When accused before Pilate, he didn't argue, explain, or justify himself. He remained silent because he knew that some battles are fought best through stillness. If Jesus didn't feel the need to respond to every accusation, why should you? Silence is not surrender, it's wisdom. The Bible reminds us in Ephesians 6:12 that our struggle isn't against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces. That means the fight isn't always in front of you, it's often behind what you see. Some conflicts are meant for prayer, not arguments. Some people are meant to be released, not reasoned with. When you stop engaging in every battle that calls your name, you preserve your strength for the ones that matter, the ones that build your future, the ones that align with your calling, the ones that God has actually assigned to you. Every warrior knows that victory isn't about fighting every fight. It's about knowing which ones are worth your sword. Choose your battles wisely. Some people don't just take your time, they drain your energy, peace, and focus. You've likely experienced this. After a conversation, you walk away feeling exhausted, frustrated, or even questioning yourself. That's not normal. That's a sign you've been engaging with the wrong people. Not everyone is meant to receive your wisdom, and not everyone is worthy of your explanation. When you spend time defending yourself to those who refuse to understand, you are pouring valuable energy into an empty void. These interactions don't lead to clarity, they lead to confusion, self-doubt, and emotional exhaustion. The more you engage, the more entangled you become in their negativity. Jesus himself warned about this in Matthew 7:6. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Your energy, peace, and wisdom are your pearls. When you share them with the wrong people, they don't just reject them, they trample them and turn to attack you. That's why engaging with people who thrive on arguments, manipulation, or drama is a losing battle. You're not just debating ideas, you're fighting against spirits of pride, deception, and control. Protecting your energy isn't about avoiding people, it's about discernment. Learn to recognize who genuinely wants to grow and who only wants to argue. Set boundaries. Choose where you invest your time and emotional strength. When you stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, you reclaim your peace, sharpen your focus, and walk in the authority God has given you. Some battles aren't worth fighting, and some conversations are better left unspoken. When faced with opposition, Jesus often responded with silence, not out of fear or weakness, but out of wisdom and spiritual authority. He understood that not every battle is meant to be fought with words. One of the most powerful examples of this is in Matthew 27:12-14, when Jesus stood before Pilate. Despite being falsely accused, he remained silent. Pilate, amazed, asked, "Don't you hear the charges they are bringing against you?" Yet Jesus refused to defend himself. Why? Because he knew that no explanation would change the hearts of those who were spiritually blind. His silence was not surrender, it was power. Silence in spiritual warfare is not about avoidance, it's about knowing when to engage and when to stand still. In Mark 1:25, when a demon tried to speak to him, Jesus didn't argue or explain himself, he simply commanded, "Be quiet, come out of him." Demons thrive on engagement, manipulation, and gathering information to use against you. Jesus shut that down immediately. Too often we waste our energy explaining ourselves to people who are spiritually compromised. But Jesus showed us that silence can be the greatest weapon against deception. Instead of defending yourself to those who will twist your words, conserve your strength and fight in prayer. Jesus didn't waste time debating with demons, Pharisees, or those unwilling to see the truth. He knew his mission, he knew his authority, and he knew that silence speaks louder than words when dealing with spiritual opposition. There are things in your life that are too precious to be shared with just anyone. Your wisdom, your peace, your spiritual insight. These are your pearls, sacred truths that God has entrusted to you. But if you give them to the wrong people, they won't just ignore them, they will trample them. Jesus warned us in Matthew 7:6, "Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs." He wasn't insulting people. He was revealing a deep spiritual truth. Some people are not ready to receive wisdom. Their hearts are hardened, their minds are clouded, and instead of valuing what you share, they will reject it, mock it, and even turn against you. Have you ever poured your heart out to someone thinking they would understand, only for them to twist your words and use them against you? That's what happens when you share sacred things with those who aren't prepared to receive them. It drains your energy, disrupts your peace, and can leave you discouraged. True wisdom isn't just knowing what to say, it's knowing when and to whom to say it. Jesus didn't explain himself to everyone. He reserved deep revelations for those who had ears to hear. Likewise, you must learn to discern who is worthy of your pearls. Some people are only meant to watch from a distance, while others have earned the right to sit at your table. Guard your wisdom, protect your peace. When you stop casting pearls before those who don't value them, you make space for those who do. And when the right people come, they will not only cherish your wisdom, they will grow from it. Silence is more than the absence of words. It is a strategy, a shield, and a source of strength. When you engage in unnecessary battles, explaining yourself to those who have already decided to misunderstand you, you drain your energy on people who are not listening. But when you choose silence, you protect your power, your peace, and your spiritual authority. Think about how much energy is wasted in arguments that go nowhere. The more you try to defend yourself, the more fuel you give to those who thrive on conflict. This is why Jesus remained silent before Pilate, Matthew 27:14. He knew that explaining himself to someone unwilling to understand was pointless. His silence wasn't defeat, it was control. He chose where to invest his energy, focusing on the real mission instead of pointless debates. In spiritual warfare, demons work through people to provoke reactions. They want you drained, distracted, and discouraged. Every unnecessary argument pulls you away from your purpose. But when you resist the urge to explain yourself, you rob the enemy of power over you. You shift the battle from the natural realm to the spiritual, where God fights for you. Silence also strengthens your discernment. When you stop talking, you start listening, both to people and to God. You see true intentions, recognize deception, and hear divine wisdom. Silence isn't about weakness or avoidance. It's about choosing your battles wisely. Preserve your strength by refusing to cast your pearls before swine. Let your silence be your power. Silence is more than just the absence of words. It is a tool that sharpens discernment. In a world full of distractions, arguments, and noise, the ability to remain silent allows you to see beyond the surface and perceive what is truly happening. Many people react impulsively, speaking before they fully understand a situation. But when you hold your tongue, you give yourself time to observe, process, and receive divine insight. Discernment is the ability to distinguish truth from deception, wisdom from folly, and light from darkness. When you engage in constant explanation, you risk clouding your own judgment. People who are spiritually compromised often twist words and manipulate conversations, making it harder to recognize the true battle. But when you choose silence, you step back from the noise and allow clarity to emerge. Jesus demonstrated this wisdom when he stood before Pilate. Instead of arguing or justifying himself, he remained silent, Matthew 27:14. Why? Because Pilate wasn't seeking truth. He was part of a larger scheme. Engaging with him would have been pointless. In the same way, when you stop explaining yourself to people who are unwilling or unable to understand, you begin to see their true intentions. Silence also creates space for God to speak. The Holy Spirit reveals more when you are quiet than when you are busy defending yourself. In stillness, you recognize who is for you and who is against you. You learn to move wisely, speak when necessary, and protect your energy from unnecessary battles. Silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It keeps you from being deceived and positions you to hear God's voice with clarity. In a world full of confusion, those who master silence gain the ability to see beyond the illusion. Some battles are not meant for you to fight. When you try to defend yourself against every accusation, every misunderstanding, and every attack, you exhaust yourself in battles that were never yours to begin with. The truth is, God is a far better defender than you will ever be. He sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and fights in ways beyond human understanding. Exodus 14:14 says, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." This is not weakness. This is divine strategy. When you let God defend you, you step out of unnecessary conflicts and into his divine protection. Some people and situations are meant to distract you, drain you, and pull you into a war of words. But silence, trust, and patience allow God to move on your behalf. Look at Jesus. When he stood before his accusers, he did not argue, explain, or justify himself. He remained silent because he understood that truth does not need constant defense. His silence wasn't surrender, it was power. He knew that the ultimate victory belonged to God. Many times, God's defense isn't immediate, but it is always certain. When you stop fighting in the flesh and start fighting in prayer, you invite God's justice into your situation. He will reveal the truth, expose deception, and silence the enemy in his perfect time. Let go of the need to be understood by everyone. Let go of the urge to prove yourself. When you stand still in faith, God moves in power. His defense is stronger than any argument, and his justice is greater than any human retaliation. Trust him, stay silent when needed, and watch him fight for you. Silence is not weakness. It is wisdom, it is power, and it is your greatest shield against those who are spiritually blind. You don't need to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to justify your calling to those who were never meant to understand it. Jesus himself remained silent before his accusers, not because he had no answer, but because not everyone is worthy of one. The moment you stop defending yourself to those who twist your words, you take away their power. The moment you stop casting your pearls before swine, you preserve what is sacred. And the moment you let God fight for you, you step into divine victory. Some battles are won in silence. Some enemies defeat themselves when you refuse to engage. And some attacks are only distractions sent to drain you and pull you away from your true mission. Do not fall into the trap. Rise above the noise. Move in wisdom. Guard your energy, your peace, and your purpose. Let this be the season where you stop wasting words on those who will never hear, and start trusting God to reveal the truth in his perfect timing. Watch how everything shifts when you embrace the power of silence.